Nico Hayes leaned against his Richmond studio's window, the city's hum soft below, paint drying on his hands. At 22, he was one of three triplets, born minutes apart in a Virginia town with Noah and Nathan. Their faces mirrors but lives split wide. As kids, they were the Hayes boys, a badge of pride for their grandfather, Walter Hayes, a retired Marine with a voice like gravel and eyes that pinned you. Walter'd hoist them onto his truck, teach them to fish, brag at church, "My grandsons will run this world." Nico loved his den, war medals on the wall, Walter's stories of Korea, saying, "Be tough, boys, like me." They'd race bikes, Nico trailing, but Walter'd clap for all three, his hands heavy, Nico feeling like he belonged, part of a team that'd never break. That changed at 17, the summer Nico came out as gay. The living room was sticky, a fan rattling, Ellen knitting, Noah and Nathan sprawled on the couch. Nico stood, heart loud, looking at Walter in his recliner. "I'm gay," he said, voice clear, hoping the man who'd cheered his piano at recitals would nod. Walter's jaw tightened, eyes cold. "Noah and Nathan, they're real men," he said, slow, like a verdict. "You, Nico, you're a glitch nature fucked up." Nico's knees buckled, Noah staring at the floor, Nathan shifting, Ellen whispering, "Not now, honey." Walter walked out, porch screens slamming, and Nico's world tilted, the grandfather he'd idolized erasing him with a word. After that, Walter shut him out. Family gatherings a maze of avoidance. At barbecues, he'd grill with Noah, fix Nathan's bike. But Nico got a nod, maybe, his sketches ignored, his music a shrug. Photos told it clear, Walter between Noah and Nathan, Nico at the edge, Walter's arm never crossing his space. "Stand tall, boys," he'd say, meaning the others. Nico smiling for cameras, but sinking inside. Ellen tried, "He's from another time, Nico. He'll come around." But years passed, Walter's silent stone. Noah went to law school. Nathan built houses. Walter beaming, "That's my blood." While Nico's gigs, his art shows, got nothing, like they weren't real. Now Nico packed for Walter's funeral. Ellen's call still fresh. "Grandpa's gone, Nico, 83. His heart quit. Come home." He folded a jacket, heart tangled, wanting to grieve the man who'd shaped him, but dreading the house where he'd been invisible. Walter's glitch, stinging like a fresh cut. He thought of Noah and Nathan, still close, their texts about ooze, never Nico's life, Walter's shadow between them. Driving south, trees blurring, Nico wondered if he'd find peace or just proof he'd never been Walter's boy, left outside a family that claimed 2/3 of its heart, mourning a grandfather who'd loved him once before he dared to be himself. If Nico's story hits you, stick with us. Hit that like, share with someone who's felt cut out, and subscribe to Hard Stories. Tell me, when did you lose a place in your own family? Nico stood by the church lot in Virginia, August sun baking his black shirt, mourners crowding for Walter Hayes' funeral. At 22, he was a triplet, one of three, but alone, Noah and Nathan's voices drifting from inside, their words praised while Nico stayed trapped. The town loved Walter's boys, but since coming out at 17, Nico was a stranger. Walter's glitch, branding him, his art and music no match for Noah's law degree or Nathan's hammer. Ellen had called, "Come back, Nico, for Grandpa." And he'd driven from Richmond, 4 hours chasing closure, but now, watching folks hug Noah and Nathan, he felt the old weight, wondering if he'd mourn or just bleed in a place that didn't see him. The church smelled of wax and sweat, pews full with Walter's Marine pals, market vendors, church ladies in hats. Nico slid into a back row, Noah and Nathan up front with Ellen, their suits sharp, heads low. The priest spoke of Walter's courage, his Korea scars, then called Noah up. Noah, smooth as a lawyer, told of Walter's discipline, teaching him to shoot, crowd murmuring approval. Nathan followed, voice rough, sharing how Walter had laughed, fixing his truck, folks smiling, hands clapping. Nico waited, heart tight, hoping his name might slip in, maybe a nod to his piano at Walter's 70th. But the priest said, "Walter leaves his wife, Ellen, Noah, Nathan." Nico erased, like he'd never sat in Walter's den learning knots. Outside, graveside, mourners swapped tales, Walter's chili recipe, his war stories. Nico stood by a tree, wanting to say, "Grandpa showed me stars, name them." But no one turned. An uncle, Carl, shook his hand, saying, "Good you came, Nico, even if Walter didn't." Well, you know. The pity stung. Nico's plain clothes, no rings, not enough to belong. Noah bumped his arm. "Rough, huh?" Then joined buddies, Nathan grinning, "Hang in there." But walking off, leaving Nico with dirt and strangers, his grief a whisper nobody heard. A neighbor, Mrs. Lee, offered pie. Walter was proud in his way, but her eyes slid past like Nico was a guest, not kin. At Walter's house, the will reading packed the dining room, air thick, a fan humming. Mr. Lyle, the lawyer, read slow, Walter's estate carved neat. Noah got the house, Nathan the fields, both splitting stocks, Nathan taking Walter's Rolex, its weight a crown. Nico sat, expecting zero, his name unspoken until Lyle pushed a cardboard box his way. Battered, no mark. "For Nico," he said, Ellen's brows rising, Noah and Nathan glancing, confused. Inside, a notebook, leather cracked, pages curled. Nothing else. Ellen scoffed. "That's all?" Carl muttered, "Figures." Nico held it, box under his chair, their eyes heavy like he'd stolen something small. Dinner crowded the same table. Roast and beans. Noah planning to flip the house. Nathan joking he'd pawn the watch for a boat. Nico chewed, silent, Ellen beside him, voice low. "You're lucky Walter let you come, Nico, after how you chose to live." The words cut, like his being there was charity, not right. Noah switched topics. Nathan laughed about Walter's old dog, and Nico felt it again. Invisible, the triplet nobody named. He remembered Walter's porch, where he'd sit at 10, Walter tossing him a baseball, smiling. Before 17, before Glitch, when Nico was still his boy. The notebook sat in his bag, a question he didn't want, its weight odd, like Walter had left a joke, not love. He'd come for peace, to say goodbye, but the church, the will, the table screamed one truth. Noah and Nathan were Walter's. Nico was spare. Grieving a man who'd pushed him out long before his heart stopped. Nico slumped in a motel chair. The Virginia night thick with humidity. Walter's funeral a bruise that wouldn't fade. At 22, he'd carried Walter's rejection since 17. His Glitch label carving him out of the triplet bond. Noah and Nathan's ease at the church, Ellen's lucky jab, proof he didn't fit. The cardboard box from the will sat on the bed, a battered thing holding just a notebook, leather worn, pages yellow, no name outside. Nico stared, ready to chuck it, thinking Walter left trash to match his disdain. But his hands moved, opening it, needing something, anything to make sense of a grandfather who'd turned away. The first page hit like a shock, Walter's handwriting sharp. Personal notes, for Nico only, no one else. Nico's breath caught, the words a rope pulling him in, Walter's voice alive, not cold, but warm, reaching across years. He sank to the floor, lamp buzzing, reading page after page, Walter's thoughts spilling out. June 07, Nico's 10, one read. Played piano at the fair, blew folks away. Didn't say it, but Emma's kid cried, said it was magic. Nico's eyes stung, seeing that day, Walter in a lawn chair, quiet, but there watching. Another, Nico's 14, found him drawing at the creek, trees so real I could touch him. He's different, softer than Noah or Nathan, but damn, he feels what others miss. Nico's fingers shook, tears falling, Walter catching things he'd never shared, his art, his heart, when Nico thought he'd been invisible. A later entry, Nico's 16, helped old man Turner fix his fence, no pay, just smiled. He's got more good than I ever did. The pages turned darker, Walter's pen heavier. August 19, Nico's 17, said he's gay. I messed up, called him a mistake, saw his face break. I'm the one who failed, scared of what I didn't know. Nico's chest heaved, that night flashing, Walter's words cutting, Noah and Nathan mute, Ellen's dodge. Another, Nico's 20, saw him play a bar, didn't know I came. His music's light, pure, like he's free. I'm not, never was, too stuck to tell him. Nico sobbed, picturing Walter in a crowd, hidden, watching him shine. writing what he couldn't say. The last page broke him. If Nico's got this, I'm gone. I saw you, kid, every step, even when I turned away. You're my pride, not for grades or work, but for living true, brighter than I ever could. Don't let them dull you. Nico clutched the notebook, tears soaking his shirt. Walter's regret bare, no excuses, just love. Slow, kept secret from Ellen, Noah, Nathan, who'd claimed his heart. He saw Walter's den, his medals, his silence at reunions, but now knew he'd watched, written, cared, when Nico felt alone. The funerals weighed Ellen's cold lucky, Noah's speech, Nathan's laugh faded, Walter's ink louder, saying he'd been enough, always. Nico thought of his sketches, his piano, the kid Walter had seen, not a glitch, but light, captured in pages nobody touched. Ellen knocked, her voice sharp. Nico, you in there? He hid the notebook, wiping his face, opening the door. She stood, arms crossed, eyeing the box. What's that thing? She asked, stepping in. Just Grandpa's stuff, Nico said, calm, but she reached, curious. If it's important, we should know, she said, voice tight, like he'd taken something hers. Nico held firm. It's mine, Mom. He left it for me. Her jaw set. Don't make trouble, Nico. He's at rest. He nodded, but inside he burned. Walter's words a fire she couldn't dim. A grandfather who'd loved him quiet, in a town that'd never look, leaving Nico to guard a truth bigger than their table, brighter than their blame. Nico sat in his motel bed at dawn, the notebook open, Walter's last words searing. You're my pride, Nico, living true. At 22, he'd carried Walter's glitch since 17, believing his grandfather's love stopped at Noah and Nathan. But the pages shifted everything, showing a Walter who'd watched, regretted, cared. He flipped to the end, finding an envelope, sealed, Walter's scrawl clear. First Trust Bank, code 4729, Nico, keep it private. His heart raced, the paper heavy, like Walter had planned a move nobody saw. Not Ellen, not his brothers, a secret beyond the funeral's cold cuts. Nico dressed, drove to Richmond's bank, envelopes in his pocket, the notebook safe in his bag, wondering what a man who'd shunned him left, if it was more than words. The bank was calm, marble cool, a teller, Miss Carter, taking the code, her screen flashing. Mr. Hayes opened this for you, Nico, she said, handing a statement, eyes kind. Nico stared. 150,000, built slow, Walter's note attached. Not guilt, Nico. For you to chase what you believe, no one say-so needed. His knees weakened, the sum wild, but the words heavier. Walter backing his art, his music, his life, not Noah's suits or Nathan's saws. Carter leaned in. He'd come monthly, Nico. Quiet, said it was for his grandson, the one who'd do something real. Or Nico's eyes watered, picturing Walter, old, slipping checks, thinking of him when he'd stood distant at reunions, hiding love in numbers. He walked to his car, statement trembling, notebook beside him, rereading Walter's regret. I failed him first. The money wasn't amends, but trust. Walter saying, be Nico, secret from a family that had split the will loud. Noah's house, Nathan's Rolex, Nico's box, a joke to them. He thought of the church, Ellen's lucky, Nathan's grin, Noah's nod, none knowing Walter had saved for him, watched his gigs, written his light. The envelope felt alive, a promise kept from Ellen's rules, Noah's plans, Nathan's watch, a grandfather betting on the kid he'd pushed out. Nico drove back, Ellen's text waiting. Dinner tonight, we're sorting Grandpa's stuff. Be there. He went, Walter's house unchanged, photos of Noah and Nathan with him, Nico's face gone. Ellen greeted him, eyes on his bag. That box got anything worth keeping? Nico shrugged. Just papers. But her stare lingered, like he'd taken Walter's shine. The table buzzed, Noah talking property, Nathan showing the Rolex, its tick sharp. Ellen pressed, if there's something in there, Nico, tell us. It's only fair. He met her gaze, calm. Grandpa chose what I got, Mom. Noah laughed. What, old receipts? Nathan smirked. Don't expect a cut of the land, man. Nico ate, silent. The bank slip a pulse. Walter's note louder. No one say so. Later in the kitchen, Ellen cornered him, voice low. Nico, Walter didn't owe you, after how you lived. He looked at her, steady. He gave me what he wanted, Mom. That's enough. Her hands twisted. Don't stir trouble. Let him go. Nico nodded, but the notebook burned. Walter's money a door, not to prove them wrong, but to build what he'd always seen. Art, music, a life free of their nod. He left, house fading, the envelope his alone, not for their table, but for Walter, who'd loved him in pages, in dollars, quiet, when they'd only seen a glitch, never the grandson who'd shone through their dark. Nico sat at Walter's final family dinner, the Virginia dining room loud with clinking forks, roast steaming, but cold where he was. At 22, he held the notebook's truth. Nico, you're my pride, your heart's light, and 150,000, Walter's bet on his dreams, secret from Ellen, Noah, Nathan, who'd split houses and watches, blind to what Nico carried. Noah talked across the table, mapping out the sale of Walter's home. Profits split with Nathan, who spun the Rolex, grinning, this'll buy a hell of a truck. Ellen poured wine, her eyes flicking to Nico's bag, the box's shadow still nagging. But he stayed quiet, Walter's words a fire no one could touch, a grandfather who'd seen him when they'd seen a flaw. The room buzzed, cousins joking, an aunt praising Noah's speech, Nathan's grit, Nico's name a ghost. Nathan leaned over, voice low. Grandpa never really let you back in, Nico, Noah nodded casual. Yeah, house and land's us, but you got, what, some diary? Laughter rippled, Ellen's smile thin, like she agreed. Nico's box a pity prize. He set his fork down, Walter's note loud. Do what you believe. He didn't need to let me in, Nico said, eyes on Nathan, then Noah. He gave me something you'll never dig out of his safe. Ellen frowned. Nico, don't make a scene. We're family. But Nathan smirked. What, scribbles? Good luck with that. Nico stood, pulling the notebook, leather cracked, setting it soft on the table, pages heavy with Walter's heart. This is what he left me, he said, voice clear. Something you can't sell or wear. Noah scoffed. Paper's cheap, man. But Nico walked out, their laughs fading, Ellen calling, Nico, come on! Her voice thin against Walter's ink. I saw you, kid. He didn't show the bank slip. Didn't need to. The notebook enough. Walter's love a light they'd never see, not in deeds or gold, but in words that named him whole. The door shut, town quiet, Nico's steps firm, no anger, just freedom, leaving a table that had never held his plate. In Richmond, Nico worked in a loft, paint cans scattered, a piano by the window, sunlight soaked on his easel. He painted, played bars, the 150,000 waiting. Maybe for a gallery, a music camp, no hurry to choose. He'd open the notebook. First page creased. Nico, I loved you, just slow. He'd smile, seeing Walter's eyes. Not the Marine who'd turned away, but the man who'd stood at his recitals, written his shine, saved for his future. Noah called once, you good? Voice stiff, Nathan silent, Ellen's voicemails piling. We're still here, Nico. But he didn't answer. Not cold, just done chasing a family that had left him out. Their pride locked in things, not him. One afternoon, Nico taught a kid, Sam, to sketch, the boy's hands shaky, kicked out for being queer. You keep drawing, Nico said, thinking of Walter's money. The notebook, a chance to build where he'd been torn down. Sam grinned, like you? And Nico nodded. Walter's light alive in him, not dimmed by Ellen's rules, Noah's plans, Nathan's watch. The screen fades, Nico at his piano, notes rising. The notebook open, words clear. I loved you, slow. He wasn't the triplet pushed aside, but the one Walter chose, not with houses, but pages, dollars, a love that didn't need their okay to burn bright. If Nico's freedom lifts you, hit that like, share with someone who's found their shine, and subscribe to Heart Stories. Tell me, what gift showed you were loved too late? Tap that bell. We're here for the real fights. Sometimes the loudest I love you is whispered on paper, passed through hands that never learned how to hug.